House to Home, brought to you by RE/MAX Diamond Realty.
Here's a hypothetical situation for you, my friends. You've come across some property, maybe you inherited it, maybe you've always had this property, and all of a sudden you want to build upon it and build your home either for rent, maybe your dream home, maybe for your kids. So where exactly do you start? A lot of people ask this question, so fortunately Liz and Gina are here from RE/MAX Diamond Realty, including the birthday girl.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How's it
Sweet
feel to be-
16 all over again.
I was going to say, very, very nice. And how do you too, Gina?
Hi.
Looking radiant as always. Okay. Well, speaking of radiant, you want the property that you own, if you are a landowner, to be worth something, but you also want the flexibility. So, Gina, let's start with you. What exactly do I do if I want to build for the very first time? Because I'm clueless.
I always tell people it starts off with your funding. So if you're going to build first and you have a budget in mind, whether you've secured a loan, a mortgage loan, whether you've got money set aside so that you could start doing that. If I already have the money secured, and there's so many avenues for that, right? But if I already have the money secured, the next thing I would do is I would take my map and I would go down to GPA, GWA, and I would ask them, where's my water, where can I connect to water? And how much is that going to cost me? And then I'll go to GPA and do the same thing. So that's where I would start.
I was just thinking about that as you were saying it. So, Liz, I was thinking, do you start with the foundation first and build upon it and then do utilities last, or should you start with the utilities?
You should start with the utilities.
Okay.
Just on the way here, we had a buyer who's going to be purchasing land, and we had shown them some blueprints. So they were asking, well, can they purchase the blueprints for this lot that they purchased? They wanted to build their home. So the question that they had was, what's it going to cost for the blueprints? So I checked, and they were saying anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000, which covered the blueprints. And of course, it has to have all the different aspects. It covered the permitting process. There are fees that the government charges. So there's so many fees for the infrastructure, like the water, the permit. So those are things that you need to be aware of on the front side, especially if you're either doing self-construction or you're getting a contractor to do it. The contractor, if you do get a contractor, sometimes they only cover certain parts that are built into the cost of the construction, and then they'll leave a certain part to you. So you want to ask so many questions in the beginning. Are all the costs for the permits, the fees for the water and the power and all of that? You want to ask that on the front side to make sure everything is inclusive, because we've had situations where they were selling a house, but they didn't include the hookup to the water, the hookup to the power, and they were surprised that they found extra costs involved.
Now, Gina, I want total control over my, maybe not the design, but at least like I want some say in like how I want my dream house to be. I'm not Frank Lloyd Wright, and I'm gonna have this like real wacky architecture and everything like that. But I might, want maybe like a bridge or something between. Or like, what if I want to build a house that's kind of like untraditional? Yeah.
But see, that's the whole purpose of building. That's actually why people elect to build versus just buying something that's already made. I mean, cost is a factor as well, but think about the time and all the effort that goes into construction. So that is exactly the reason people end up wanting to do their own home, is so they can make it unique. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you make it a little too unique, so you've got to be careful with that, because I always think real estate is an investment. Yes, I want to keep it forever, but what if I decide that forever is tomorrow? Mm-hmm. What if my forever is tomorrow? I want to sell it. I have to make sure that I can find somebody who is going to fall in love with that home, because if they don't, you might end up having to sell the property for less than what it costs you to build. So
exactly.
Be unique, but don't unique yourself out of the market.
Yes.
And now that's me, and because I'm a weirdo, like my house is going to have absolutely rock solid internet access from ceiling to floor. But the sink probably won't work. But that's just me. But
no bathrooms.
Yeah, but if I do, Liz, want to build a house with the intention of flipping it into a commercial venture,
you have to think through it from beginning to end. And we always ask those questions. If are you going to live in this? You want to think about later. The house might become small for you after a while when your family grows, and then you're ready to buy a new one. You want to sell that and make sure it is appealing to the generic buyer out there. So the features, and then again, you could design it yourself, get an architect, though there are fees associated with that. So if you get an architect, a really good one, sometimes they'll charge you maybe 20% of what the construction cost would be. So yeah, and some people want to design it themselves, get people to do it, but be very careful because you need certified individuals to plan and design it for you, because what you don't want to do is go through the construction phase and find out you left a whole wall without electrical outlets. Or so there's just so many factors.
We'll tell you what, I've got a million questions. Can you guys come back next week and we'll continue this conversation?
You got it.
Thank you so much, and happy birthday once again.
Thank you.
All right, stay tuned. We're back after this.